Howdy folks, Ranger Sly here, making this video just to tell you guys, nope, I'm not dead yet.
I'm not dead!
Sorry, I'm so long between videos, but life goes on. I was watching my friend thegreyman streaming one of his play Fallout 4 videos, and in the chat we're always talking about everything and nothing, and he was asking me, so Sly, since you haven't been doing videos lately, have you gotten some cool fun books recently? So I've decided to make this video to show him the few things I pick up in the last month or so. But first, let's take that beautiful looking Have a Great Amazing Day cup and get some nice chocolate beverage from our sponsor.
I see automation displaces labor in your organization too, Dr. Sloan.
Ah, Captain Q. Join me in a glass of delicious chocolate quick, won't you?
Thank you, Doctor. I could use some energy. Incidentally, one of those torpedoes you fired at me was circling, and you're sunk.
Toodaloo, Captain Q!
Some people will do anything to get rich quick. Toodaloo.
First up is an auction win of a nice lot of Marvel Westerns from the early 70s. All contain reprints, and they average a mid-grade in condition, and most are cool picture frame covers, such as this one by Gil Kane and John Severin. Boy, I wish those two guys would have made more covers together. So this is Two Gun Kid number 102. Now, I said all of them contain reprints, but this is the exception. This is Two Gun Kid number 104 with a cool John Severin cover. It's an exception because it includes an unpublished and unfinished 9 pages inventory story from 1967 with pencils by Ogden Whitney, who was the creator of Herbie and Fat Fury and one of the main artists at ACG. And Marv Wolfman completed the script, and Dick Ayers finished the art and inked it. So that's a cool thing. Number 107. This is Dick Ayers cover. And this one is not a picture frame cover, unfortunately. This is Two Gun Kid 101 with a Dick Ayers and Vince Coletta cover. We're now to Kid Colt Outlaw number 157. This is a Gil Kane cover with inks by John Romita. Also a good mix of talent. Kid Colt 160 with a John Severin cover. Kid Colt 164 with a Dick Ayers and Frank Giacoia cover. And the final one from this lot is Kid Colt Outlaw number 179, which is a Jack Kirby reprinted cover from actually issue 106 of Kid Colt from 1962. So all the westerns I've showed you since the beginning are from the same lot, from the same seller on an eBay auction. He also had the next issue on auction. This one I paid a little more than I usually pay for a single comic, but it was worth it. This is The Legends of Daniel Boone number 1. And if you look on the cover, at least I couldn't find an issue number, but it's the first issue of the series. It's not from 1955. The cover and the inside art are by the great Nick Cardy. The series only lasted 8 issues, but all of them are considered as scarce according to the Overstreet Price Guide. This one was graded at 4.5 by the dealer, and the auction ended at $102 in US dollar. But since it's a scarce book, I was willing to go this high for a comic book that I'll probably never see in auction again from a Canadian seller. And now for a few Amazing Spider-Man issues, all bought from the same dealer. All are from 1982, which was the very beginning of the Roger Stern written run of Amazing Spider-Man. All art by John Romita Jr. And I've wanted to read that run for a long time, since it was written by one of my favorite comic book writers. And then I saw a video of Comics Fan 1973, one of his top 10 videos. I will link the video down below. And he was naming Roger Stern's run as his favorite Spidey run. So it gave me the final push to jump in and try to collect the run. I paid a little more than I expected for these issues, since none of them are keys or rare issues. Fortunately, the shipping for all 3 books was around $10, which is very reasonable for Canada. So the first one is Amazing Spider-Man number 224. It's a newsstand issue, which was graded at 8.5 by the dealer. I can concur with that. And it's around a very fine plus. I paid $11.03 Canadian, which is about $8.05 American. Next one is Amazing Spider-Man 225. This was graded at 9.4 near mint, according to the seller, which is pretty much on the nose, I think. So I paid $20.85 Canadian for that, which is about $15.22 US. But since I could grab the first 3 issues of the Roger Stern run from the same dealer, so only one shipping cost, I was willing to pay a little bit more. And the last of the 3 is Amazing Spider-Man 226, another newsstand issue. This one was only a 8.0, very fine, and it still cost me $19.12 Canadian, which is about almost $14 US. So yeah, expensive, but I've searched for the same issues from other Canadian dealers, and the price was pretty much the same. Another couple of auction wins from a Canadian eBay seller, and they were at surprisingly low prices. They are 2 small lots of Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man issues from the Roger Stern written run. All are in high grade, all of them are newsstand editions, and I wonder if the quality of his writing on this run made it possible for Stern to earn later on the writing spot on Marvel's flagship title, which is Amazing Spider-Man at the time. Especially since there were no real regular art team during his run. I mean, Steve Lealoa, Mike Zeck, Luke McDonnell, Rick Leonardi, and even John Byrne drew single issues during his run, which lasted about 2 years, I think. Jim Mooney, Mary Severin, and would you believe Jim Shooter, yes, the editor-in-chief of Marvel at the time, Jim Shooter, all drew a couple of issues of Spectacular Spider-Man. So the first lot is the first 4 issues I'm going to show you. All 4 books cost me, the auction win was at $8.27 Canadian, which is about $6 American. And they're all from 1980. So we got Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man number 46, with a cover by Frank Miller and Bob McLeod. Frank Miller drew a lot of covers during this run, which is a cool thing, of course. Number 47 with an Al Milgrom cover. That was a cool issue, I remember reading this. 48, another Frank Miller ink by Al Milgrom cover. And number 49 with a Keith Pollard and Bob McLeod cover. So all these 4 issues cost me $8 Canadian. So this is the beginning of the second lot from the same seller. So in this one there were 7 issues. Again, all of them newsstand, all of them high grade, around very fine near mint. And the auction for all 7 books ended at $10.50 Canadian, which is about $7.50 American. So that's $1 per book, which is unheard of from a Canadian seller anyway. It was an auction, so I was lucky. So we got Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man number 51 with a cover by Frank Miller again, ink by Joe Rubinstein. I Love Mysterio, so this is cool. This one, number 52, has a cover again by Frank Miller and Bob Wyacek. Number 53. Now this one is one of the issues not written by Roger Stern but by Bill Mantlo, who preceded Roger Stern on the run and would later succeed him and return as a writer on this series. And Bill Mantlo would create, among other things, Cloak and Dagger in his later run. So this cover of number 53 is by John Romita Jr. and ink by Al Milgrom. This is one of the coolest cover of the run, I think. This is number 54 with an amazing cover by Frank Miller, ink by Walt Simonson. Both artists are fan of samurais, so I guess it was a fun project for them to collaborate on this. And the black cover is very nice. Number 55 with a Frank Miller inking himself, which is always cool on the covers of that era. I love the etching in the background. So this is number 55. Number 56, another Frank Miller cover, ink by Bob Wyacek. And finally, number 57, again Frank Miller inking himself on this cover. Now, since I think most modern comic books are crap, I've developed in the recent years a nostalgia for the old fanzines we used to have in the 80s, especially. This was way before internet became what it is today. So those fanzines were the only way for us collectors to keep being informed about upcoming projects and to gather some information about our favorite creators. And this was one of the fanzines I used to buy once in a while when the artists or creators interviewed were interesting to me. I remember buying this one a long time ago when it first came out, so I was happy to buy it back. I paid around $15 Canadian for this first issue. This is from 1983. It's the first issue of Comic Interviews. And Comics Interview was interesting because first it was done by actual comic book writers and editors. So it says here David Anthony Kraft's Comic Interview because he was the leader on the project, editor-in-chief, I think. And he was also a writer of comic books, especially in the Bronze Age. And the concept at the beginning was very interesting. They wanted to interview a creator at each step of the production of comic books. So they wanted each issue to feature a writer, an artist, an editor, a letterer, a colorist, and even fans, or letter writing fans. But they couldn't manage to do all these every issue, so they tried to do as best as they could to represent all those people involved in production of comic books. But more often than enough, it was artists and writers and editors that got featured. But sometimes we got a colorist and letterer So this was fun. In this first issue, Keith Giffen and Roger Slifer were launching the Omega Man series in Baxter Paper. Were interviewed about the series. Yeah. And I also got number 2. I don't remember what I paid for. Not very much. Under $10, I'm pretty sure. And this one I actually read from cover to cover. All the interviews inside are very interesting. You got, of course, Frank Miller, who is talking about his then new upcoming project for DC, which was the Ronin miniseries. And it's very interesting to see what went behind his head when creating this project. There's also an interview with Mark Evanier, who, of course, was Jack Kirby's assistant in the 70s when Jack Kirby was working at DC on his New God magnum opus. And at the time, if I'm not mistaken, that was about the time where Jack Kirby was returning to DC to finish his New God saga with a graphic novel and reprinting the original New Gods issues with new covers and a new untold story, I think. Also interview is Will, I'm gonna butch his name, but Will Mugno, I think. In French we would say Will Mugno, who was the co-creator with Mark Evanier of the DNA Agents, which is a series I loved. And so that was interesting as well. And the fan interview at the back of the issue is with none other than Gene Simmons of the famous group Kiss. He was a huge comic book fan, and it shows in his interview. He knows what he's talking about when he talks about comics. You know, he was still reading them and enjoying them. And I finally managed to score the last 2 issues of the Amazing World of DC Comics fanzines or prozine that I was missing from the whole series. So I'll try to make a video about all 17 issues, I think, of Amazing World of DC Comics. Maybe next year in my annual video. But yeah, these are the last 2 I was missing because they are the most expensive issues to collect. I've seen them go for $100 and more on eBay and on auction, so I was waiting to find them at a good price. I went to a very small comic book show recently. It sucked big time. There was nothing interesting. There was like 1 real comic book seller. The rest were all sports cards seller and memorabilia seller. So, and that guy had the issue I'm going to show you after, and then I asked him, oh man, with that issue I'm almost completing my run, and he asked me, which one are you still missing? And I said, Amazing World of DC Comics number 9. And he was selling it for $60 Canadian. And so I was ecstatic. And the reason why this one usually goes for $100 or more is because you have to remember, before the internet, before trade paperbacks and all that, there was a large Legion of Superheroes fan base, and this fanzine was the first time that somebody actually took the time to make an index of every Legion of Superheroes appearance in DC Comics since the beginning. So it was a very hot collectible for a Legion fan, and this is the reason why the price was so high since almost when it came out, and it stayed high all this time for that reason, I guess. And the Amazing World of DC Comics prozines are super cool because they always have unpublished art, concept art. Sometimes they even add unpublished stories, sometimes from the Golden Age even. So yeah, it's very cool. So I paid $60 for this one. And the other one that's hardest to find is this issue. And this was the one the seller had on his table that I saw right away. And he was selling it for $80 Canadian. But I was able to get a deal to pay the same price as the Legion issue. So I paid $60 for this issue number 15. And I was very happy to pay that amount. Again, this goes often for more than $100 on eBay. I forgot to say that this issue is from November 1975. And this issue is from August 1977, which was toward the end of the run of Amazing World of DC. I don't really know why this one cost so much. Probably because of the pretty girl picture on the front cover. It features the TV series featuring Linda Carter at the time, of course. I haven't read it yet, but I went through a few pages. There's nothing really exceptional about it. There's a few unpublished pages of a story that was left unfinished because the artist passed away, I think, or got sick or something. Anyway, I'll talk about more when I do a video about the whole series. But yeah, so very happy. I now have the complete run of Amazing World of DC, and I couldn't be happier. So there you have it, Greyman. These are the books I got recently. Not much, but fun stuff. Of course, all of you guys watching this are probably very familiar with the Greyman, who is a legend in our community. But I'm still going to put a link down below for any new viewers to Greyman's channel, which always has amazing stuff. I'm gonna put also a link to Comics Fan 1973's channel, which is a channel I discovered only recently, and I've become a big fan of his. I love his stuff because he not only shows American comic book, but also comic book from Europe. So this is fun for me because I've always read both Canadian, American, and European comics. So it's always nice to see familiar covers pop up on his channel. And it's always good stuff. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Until we meet again, happy trails, everyone.